hi, and welcome back again. So good that you're coming back for more. Hey, this week we're going to have some incredibly good apricot jam made for us by Lisa and Natalie. It's all filmed by Ja Seng. So, it's a pretty cool little show. You're not going to remember back, well, not too many years ago, we used to have this big apricot tree. We used to produce a ton of apricots. And Liam and I decided one day to try to make some jam. It didn't turn out as good as the one Lisa's going to make for you today. She actually knows how to do it. So enjoy this show. Pay close attention. You're going to have some fabulous results. So good luck.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
I'm Natalie.
And we are going to be making apricot jam from apricots from our tree in our backyard. And I grew up with my mom always making jam every summer. So I'll be sharing the tips from my mom, who learned from her mom and her grandmother about how to make jam. So that's about 7 cups of apricots off of our tree that I had frozen. And then you can actually just dump them into the pot frozen or wait for them to thaw. Plus 5 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we're going to have 7.5 tablespoons of pectin, which you can buy in a box or in a jar like this. So that's the pectin, which I've already measured. And then it's going to be 5 cups of sugar, which Natalie's going to measure out in a second. And the particular proportions depend on how much fruit you have. And so on the inside of either the box or the label in the jar tells you the particular proportions you need. And you can do it, and it's different for different kinds of fruit. So you can look and see what the recipe is. Okay. So Natalie, do you want to measure out 5 cups of sugar?
Okay.
Okay, so I am boiling a big, huge pot of water that I'm going to use to boil the jars and all the stuff that we're going to use to ladle the jam into the jars. So it's really important that you kill any microorganisms that might be inside the jars or that are going to be floating around in the air. Because if you're going to try to preserve your jam, it can last for like up to a year in the shelf, but you don't want anything growing in there. You don't want to get any mold, or botulism would be bad. So I'm pretty careful, maybe even more careful than some other people are about boiling everything and making sure it's all as sterile as possible. So I've got my boiling water now, and I'm going to put my various jars in. You have to kind of do them in batches. Let them boil for a few minutes. And this is all in prep. I'll do the glass first because those can boil for as long as you want. It's not going to hurt the glass. And then right before we're about to put all the jam into the jars, I'll be boiling all the lids that have bands and separate lids that go on. You really want these to be in good shape. If the rubber seal on here has gotten damaged at all, then that's going to allow stuff to get into your jam. Microorganisms. So if in doubt, you want to just buy brand new lids, which you can get in a box like that. So jars you can reuse as many times as you want, as long as there's not cracks. But these ones you really want very good, in good shape, bands and lids. So these are going to be boiling away, and I'll do those as the jam is cooking because it takes a little while. So my apricots are getting softer as they start to boil. You can mash the fruit kind of to your liking. If you like it really smooth and more like jelly kind of, you can mash a whole lot, and you can even strain the fruit if you don't want to have any kind of pulp in it. I like having a little bit of chunks in my jam, so I don't mash it to craziness, but that's up to you. And the more that you cook it, the more the fruit is going to break down and get softer and softer. So you don't feel like you need to mash a whole lot because it's going to do it naturally just as it cooks. So right now the jam, we want to bring this fruit to a boil. We're also going to be cooking the pectin in with the fruit. So this was my pre-measured out pectin, and I'm going to dump that in here. And then Natalie, can you get me a little bit of butter? So you can also put in a little pat of butter into the jam, and it keeps it from foaming. I'm going to take them out with tongs and put them upside down on a freshly cleaned towel. So don't use a towel you've been using on your hands or whatever, one that's like, clean from the laundry. And if you want to put it upside down, because now all the air inside there is super hot. You've filled everything. If you put the jar up like this, it can catch any stuff that floats out in the air, like mold spores and things like that. So I'm gonna put them upside down, but also let the water drain out, and it'll keep the inside sterile. So I'm gonna do these in batches. The recipe that I'm doing is supposed to make about 10 jars of jam. I always boil a couple extra just to make sure that you don't get caught at the end without enough jars. It's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. And again, that it's not totally necessary, but it'll reduce foaming. So we've been cooking the fruit, and as you can see, it's pretty broken down now. There's not very many chunks. I mashed it a little bit more, but it's pretty liquidy. And you want to bring so this is the fruit and the pectin and the lemon juice all together. And you want to bring it to a really hard boil so that when you're stirring, it's still boiling. So they call that a full rolling boil. And then you can add the sugar. So you want to have pre-measured your sugar, as Natalie did, because you want to add all the sugar at once instead of having to measure each cup. So now you can go ahead and pour in the sugar. You just dump it all in. There we go. Looking good. It's a lot of sugar. That's what it makes it taste really good, right? So I'm going to stir in the sugar, and we want it to come back to a full rolling boil. So you're going to have to cook it a little bit longer. You can also start to sterilize your bands. And these can boil for a while. The lids that have the rubber on them, you don't want to like boil these because it'll break down the rubber too much. So you kind of do those right at the last minute. But the bands can go for a while, so you can go ahead and get those done. We are now back at a full rolling boil as I'm stirring it. And so, Natalie, can you count to 60?
Okay.
In your head. Okay, so you want to boil it for at least a minute in a full rolling boil. So Natalie's counting for us. And then we're going to do the cold water test. We're going to take a little bit of the jam and put it in a cup of ice water that's clear. And what you want is the jam to kind of stick together in a little ball as it falls through the ice water and not go just like. So maybe I'll do one now that when it's not ready. Yeah, it's actually already doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So, but that's spread out quite a little bit. If it's not ready, it'll really spread out a whole lot.
Okay.
I think it's been about a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so dip your spoon in, and you're just gonna put like a drop on the top. And yeah, we want it to stick together instead of all spreading out. So this is looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. Okay, in the meantime, I was boiling this glass measuring cup to sterilize it. So I've got that. Now I'm gonna throw in a few of my tops. What you're gonna do is pour the jam into the jars, and very quickly you need to get those sealed up, because again, if they're sitting there open, stuff like mold spores and stuff from the air can land in there. So you want to pretty quickly seal those up. And when you seal it, you're going to put this on top of the jar. Then you need to wipe it and make sure there's no little drips of jam around the edge. If there's little drips of jam around the edge, it's not going to seal well. So Natalie will be my helper on wiping the lids and then tightening the bands on there, so that we can do that quickly. So it's possible to do it all by yourself, but it is helpful to have a helper, and that's what I always did for my mom when I was little. In my family, we call it getting to be like a certified, jam assistant. And then at some point, you're fully certified to do the whole thing yourself. So Natalie's still in the jam assistant phase. Okay, so now we get to taste it. This is just some that's in the jar. Mmm. It's really good. It's really good.
Oh, it's so good. Like sweet and also a little sour, like fruity.
Yum. These lids, they have a little metal bend in them. I don't know if you can hear that very well. And so when you're putting it in and it's hot, the air is more expanded, and you can hear that bend in it still. You can still do that. But as the air cools down, it shrinks in volume, And so at some point there's suction that makes a vacuum. So this one, like I push on it and it's sucked down all the way so it doesn't make a pop. So when you hear them suction down, they're gonna make a little pop, and that's a good sound because it means that like, oh, we created a little vacuum seal. Okay, so the final step for jam is post-processing. And this again just helps make sure you peel everything. So I kept our hot water, just added a little bit more to it because it had been boiling for a long time, so a lot of it evaporated. I put a washcloth in there, clean washcloth in there, just to have at the bottom to keep the jars from rattling while they boil. So that's just a layer at the bottom. You can buy like a special canner kind of thing, but you can also just boil it at the bottom. Now, that's easier to boil in a pot if you have the smaller jars. If you have the big, taller jars, you won't necessarily have a pot that's tall enough. So you want to put your jars in, as many as you can that fit. If you make a lot, you might have to do this in 2 different batches. Ooh, are we going to get to fit them all? I think we might. One more. Sorry. Just water. Now we've got that boiling. And we're going to boil it for 5 minutes. And that, again, just make sure everything in there is all sterile. So I'm going to boil it for 5 minutes, and then I'll turn off the heat and let it cool just a little bit, enough so I can pull the jars out safely. And then they're done. And then a jar of jam like this will last in the cabinet for at least a year. And so you can give it to friends as gifts, or just save it and eat it when you want. Okay, so these have post-processed, and so I'm taking them out. And then one more tip. So I intentionally picked my dark red towels because it's easy for jam to stain. Now apricot is kind of a lighter color, but we often make plum or strawberry. And if you have white towels, then you saw it's kind of, you spill a little bit as you're doing it, and it's easy to make a big mess. So one tip is that the big pot of boiling water you have right now, boiling water will get out berry stains and jam stains. So if you have white towels that have like plum stains on them now, just take all these towels and throw them into your pot of boiling water, and it'll take the stains right out. So that's another little jam tip. So thanks for watching and learning the tips that came through multiple generations of my family on making jam. We hope that you watch more cooking shows from First Baptist Church of Redlands. This is a fun way for us just to get to see each other during the pandemic. Bye.